were going to be here, and I will make the keynote speaker of this very event. And he said, go ahead. That person is the person that taught me in my first degree, taught me at the MA level, taught me in my PhD level, and also my external examiner in my PhD presentation. Please, I want to recognize my educational partner, Professor Philip Johnson, presents this keynote address. Now, let's look at the keywords. Who is an African? Somebody will say somebody from Africa. And we all know that Africans are black, right? I want to differ a bit. In Africa, we have different pigments of color. Even the albinos are still part of Africa, right? So I want to believe that an African is somebody that has the interest, predominant interest of Africa in his heart. He can be an African by birth, by residence, or by blood. But whosoever is committed to the interest of Africa wholeheartedly is an African. Are we right? Are we right? I would say I'm right. Am I saying the fact? That is it. Now, what is voices? Let's look at voice. What is voice? It can be a sound coming from the mouth, right? Used for expression. And the voice is for expression. Just like the sound. It must communicate something to be heard and to be decoded in communication. So, yeah. Now, if voice is a form of expression to be heard, to relate a meaning, to relate information, messages, ideas, that means in any avenue that a message, an idea, or whatever motive would have been communicated to you for you to be decoded because of the voice. Are we there? Now, let's also look at what is impetus. Impetus implies a push. That power, I would say that driving force, that continuous motion that moves you to a place that you have never thought of. That propeller, that is how we want to use impetus here. Then that takes us to the main word here, development. What is development? Development, as we all know, has to do with progress instead of success, achievement. Then we also look at progress being a kind of expansion, enlarging, a boost. But from the definition that I had there, it says that it can also refer to something changing and becoming advanced. However, from the perspective of different meanings of development, what should be noted is that development is based on something. There must be something on ground for development to take place. There must be something on ground for development to take place. Now, with these keywords being established, let's go into the presentation. Voice becomes an expression of information, ideas, norms, values, communicated through a head to others to be heard. Now, voices can be heard through spoken words, written words, gesture, exhibition, dramatization, as well as through other recognized outlets, not limited to electronic or social media, such as radio, television, film, and theater. For the purpose of this event, the second anniversary of this book, Abak Book Club, we want to look at boys to be in written form, especially as expressed in the books that we have, in form of poetry, novels, drama, and other creative literature. Now, the question is, if the focus of written word being the voice to communicate, by African writers being their voices in their words, do the content reflect Africa without being adulterated? I'm talking about African writers now. Are these African writers truly Africans in their heart and consciousness? Because anybody may pick up a book and write, thinking that it's promoting the African values. Is the person based in Africa? Has the interest of Africa in his or her heart? Now, if the question that I've just asked and the two questions that I've answered in the committee, that is yes. There are no questions. Are the expressed contents in their creative products capable of promoting the indigenous African cultural norms and values, and by implication, endowed with the impetus, that means the driving force, that can help develop Africa? Also, if the question that I've just asked now is also answered in the ability, are the African writers, being the African voices, are they consistent in reflecting and writing Africa and the society of Africa in their works and creative pieces without any foreign influence? That is the question. Now, another one. Are African writers being their voices intentional in fabricating contents in their literal products, be their voices, with the aim of providing the desired impetus to the youth Africa? Or are they just writing for the fun of it, for entertainment? Because somebody will versed in writing, and without any content that will increase, that will improve, or will rule Africa, just for entertainment. My prof would say, ask for asset. Just be creative without any content. Alright. With the above question also answered from a positive perspective, here comes the mother of all questions. How accessible are the books? I mean, the poetry, the drama, the novels, the aspects of cultural achievements, adventure, progressivism, orientation, history, etc. By African writers to the African readers, for their voices to be heard. How accessible are we to the products of these African voices? I'm talking of African writers. Permit me to answer this question by saying that this very club, Abak Book Club, and our members are here to celebrate this purpose. Am I right? You are making effort to provide this product, the African voices, to be heard. I'm not saying that all the books that we have in this library are all with African voices. No. But how accessible are we to our own products are made in African voices? How accessible are we to the product of African writers? It is only the services that this book club can provide in many ways. The final question: what and how is the reading culture of Africans? We hope that our responses should not corroborate the perceived assumption that if you want to hide anything from an African, you hide it in the page of a book. In other way around, it means that we have that lethargy of reading. We don't have a good reading culture. But that assumption may be wrong, may be right, based on our own judgment. As I'm starting here, I'm only learning how to speak because I read a lot. From a very remote area in the local government. From primary school, I've never attended a secondary school, first in the, what do you call it? Or what do you call that? Practical English. Oral English. Yeah. I was never taught that in school. In fact, it was through interaction that that I gradually transform myself to really speak in the public, and I'm still trying. But that is only a product. It's benefit of me reading books. I'm not reading now, but I read a lot in my secondary school days. Those books, those days have been kids, and that grew me. It opened me up. Although those were not African voices. By the time I broke through and have access to books from Wale Soyinka, Chinwe Achebe, and the rest, I really felt at home. And now I'm still reading more. I'm still feeling at home. When I was in university, one of the first books that I read that is still in my mind now is a play titled The Stolen Manuscript, written by this very man. I remember what is that? It's called The Princess. It's a total reflection of African culture. And I had so much to learn, not without bones, part of it. I read so many, and that has really positioned me to be where I am, still growing, hoping that I will get there. So what I'm saying is that I'm a product of reading. Now, when there are voices in terms of the books that are available to us, expressing the culture, the values, and the norms of Africa, when these books are available, we have the hearers. When the voice is spoken, it has to be heard. Then, where are the hearers? Where are the readers? Are they available? The clarion calls go to African writers, African voices, in quotes, to ensure the rise up as never before in their creative content to reflect Africa, and by so doing give the expected impetus for African development. To substantiate the theme of this club anniversary, permit me to quote from these three outstanding African voices that we have. Today we thank God that Wale Soyinka is celebrating his birthday, his 19th birthday. We give God the glory. And his word, and I quote, "The artist has always functioned in African society and as the record I quote, of the morals and experience of the society, and as the voice of vision is known in his own time, and the aspiring one." Chinwe Achebe said, "It is clear to me that an African writer who tries to avoid the big social and political issues of contemporary Africa will end up being completely irrelevant, like the absurd man in the proverb who leaves his house boarding to pursue a rat fleeing from the flames." Then the popular African author, Ayikoyama, has this to say: "As far back as I've written on written records, it has been the prime destiny of the serious African artist, the writer, to combine the craft of creativity with search for regenerative values." The above quotes confirm the common position of frontline African voices in encouraging African writers to enrich their work, to reach African contents, to guarantee the impetus we talk about, the driving force, to engender the desired development, that is the growth that we need in Africa. African voices can also be heard in different locations through our local poets. Like what I was listening here, so enticing poems. To hear something like, "Oh Africa, my Africa, my Africa, what has happened to you? Are you still part of God's creation? Oh Africa." I think that's an African voice. Alright. So African voices can also be heard in different locations through our local poets, novelists, teachers, dramatists, editors, ballads, broadcasters, film producers, actors, theater practitioners, columnists, curators, politicians, dancers, musicians, and drummers as well. Those are outlets that African voices can be heard. Well, in the thematic preparation of this second edition of Abak Book Club, the emphasis is that Africans need their voices to be heard. Voices through people with pens and papers. Voices with contents replicating our local African culture, our music, sounds, traditional delicacies, indigenous drama, traditional idioms and prophets, novels with an indigenous storyline, history, cultural values and norms. African writers being voices are encouraged to write Africa, express Africa, and speak Africa. For Africa to be heard. Africans are also encouraged to cultivate the attitude to read Africa and hear Africa. Voices to discover the needed impetus to help people in Africa. Subscribing to the motto of this very club, read, connect, and what? Act. I quite agree also that only when we cultivate the attitude to read, that we as a people can hear the call from the African voices being writers in their different creative works. And by reading, we'll be able to connect with each other. Like for the first time, I'm being connected here as a result of this very event. And when you are connected, you now have a common front. The mustard power, the impetus to act in an effort to develop Africa. So let's look within. Let's select the book that we read. I'm sorry to say, even in my school, Prof will encourage us this part of the world because we have been so used to Yoruba plays. He said, come within. We have people that can, write our own place to reflect our own culture. And we are trying to promote that. So the same thing is in Africa. We need to encourage Africa. We need to hear the African voices. We need to read our own books. Thank you for your audience. God bless Africa. God bless Nigeria. God bless Abak Book Club. God bless Abak Book Club. Congratulations to Congratulations.